Hi. Well, happy Friday to all the wise women and wise people out there watching my video. So I am sitting outside of one of our hideaways, which we hope will open this summer at Kamari of the Woods. So I have something I wanted to talk about today that is actually very important, but it's also something very difficult to conceptualize. And what this is about is finding and embracing your calling in life. So what does that mean? We talk about it, especially as we get older. We wonder, am I following my calling? Sometimes in our 40s or 50s, we might take a pause and just re-examine our life. And so here's what I think, okay? And I am headed closer to 70 than 60 in my life right now. And I absolutely feel like I have found my calling. I actually believe I've been on this path of my calling my whole life, but I'm really embracing it now with the work I do with clients. So sometimes when we think of our calling in life, we start to associate it with work. We start to think of ourselves as a person who has followed maybe a professional path or a calling that brings us into a certain profession or a line of work. And we think of that as our calling. So this is what I find is really important, because I have worked in education and counseling for a long time in social work. And a lot of people who work in those professions often say, I've been called to be a teacher, I've been called to be a counselor. And that's great. But we found something that happened at the time of the pandemic, which was that a lot of experienced teachers left their jobs and left their classrooms, as well as nurses and doctors and other professionals in the medical profession, because it was a risk and it maybe wasn't safe for them anymore. And that's totally understandable. Now, here's the thing about a calling. The attributes that you realize you saw within yourself that took you to maybe a profession in your life is more than just the work itself. Okay, it's more than just waking up and going to a job or spending long hours preparing for a job or a profession. It's much more than that. It's about those inner qualities in yourself that you realize and that you bring to the surface of your life that just feels so natural and so right for you, and that you just really feel like you've come to a place where it becomes very easy to share those attributes with other people in some way. And it doesn't have to be a human service profession of some kind. It maybe doesn't even involve real people. What if your calling is in the area of technology? I think that's a calling that is so needed to have people who embrace it and respect it and also honor it, to serve in some way, serve our communities, serve other people in some way, but it might not be direct service. So the other thing that I wanted to speak about is that sometimes our calling, we feel like it's associated with certain relationships in our lives. Like if you've been a parent, okay, you feel, my calling is to have these children and to raise these beautiful children. Sometimes what happens in that regard is that our children grow up and they move to another country or many miles away, or maybe there's some kind of a dispute that you have with your child, a disagreement, and so there's some estrangement and separation, and that becomes really challenging if you feel like that has been your calling in life. Same thing with a relationship, like with a partner. If your partner suddenly comes to you and says, I need to move on, I need to, break up our relationship. If you've put a lot of effort and you feel like your time in that relationship was a part of your calling, things begin to fall apart and you begin to wonder, like, what did I do wrong? Like, oh my gosh, I have to start all over again. If you lose a job that you felt really passionate about, and again, some teachers, others decided to leave their jobs during the pandemic, and it became a struggle to suddenly revise, reinterpret that calling in their life. So this is what I wanted to speak about today. And I find wherever you are in your decades of life, it is time to look at your calling and to reflect upon it. It might be something that you've done since you were a teenager. It also, remember, doesn't have to be associated with just giving of yourself. It's something that you do give. It's something very special inside you. I think of it as soul work, the work of your soul, and ways that you can bring this inner essence of yourself to other people. That's exactly how I feel when I work with my clients. I feel like I'm bringing something of myself that's of value. And it's not like I'm talking a lot about myself, but I'm listening, of course. And the way I listen to stories, the way I listen attentively to what my clients, what some of you share with me, and the way that I can bring it back to you kind of in focus, almost like a camera. Things are a little bit blurry and out of focus, and I like to try to refocus it for you and help you in some way to get past a struggle, get past a loss in your life, or maybe you're trying to find your calling, and we need to work on that. We need to just examine that, because I fully believe that everyone has soul work inside them. They have something to give back to a community in some way. And believe me, it doesn't have to be like use teaching and medical. My son is a plumber. He's a heating and plumbing contractor. He loves it. He loves what he does, and he feels so good about it. And he loves serving his clientele. He is one of the few plumbers, I will say, that when he's bombarded with a lot of work and he gets a lot of calls, he returns every phone call. He tries to help his customers, his clients over the phone, because this is what he feels called to do. And let me just say that this is a young man who did sensational in academics and school. He's a brilliant artist. And when he got to, I guess, sophomore, junior year of high school, he said, I want to go into the trades. I want to be physically active. I want to create something, which often in the trades, whether you're a plumber, whether you're a carpenter, electrician, whatever you're doing, you're creating something and you're helping somebody along the way. Anyway, that's just one example. I could talk about all my children and their callings, because I feel like that's an important piece of growing up. And often our 20s are spent kind of figuring out, what the heck am I supposed to be doing in this world? And we don't always figure it out in our 20s, right? Sometimes it's our 60s and 70s, and that's okay. I would love to support you if I can help you in any way, find your calling or something else going on in your life. Contact me through my website. You will see my cell number there too. You can call, you can text me. Actually, texting is a pretty good way to reach me, given where I live in this beautiful forest. The text messages come through, but cell calls don't always make it. All right. Thank you for listening to this, and reflect on what it is that you're soul purpose is all about. And then just embrace it and feel so incredibly good about it.